Israel's war cabinet is meeting to decide how to respond after the first direct attack from Iran. The Israeli military says it intercepted nearly all drones and missiles overnight with help from the U.S. and the United Kingdom. The IDF says more than 300 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles were fired from Iran directly. Retaliation, it says, for the recent killing of top Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders in Syria. The UN Security Council will convene for an emergency meeting later today. G7 leaders are expected to speak, and EU foreign ministers as well. Wesley Clark is retired U.S. general and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. General Clark, good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
We have been expecting something to occur over the past week or so. Iran had been telegraphing that. What is your analysis of the attack that was thwarted last night?
I think Iran is attacking possibly at the urging of Russia, but I think they also feel that they're very close to having a nuclear weapon or nuclear capacity. If they don't have it, they have it now. They're secure enough in this that they're willing to absorb possible Israeli response. So this is a break point in the struggles in the region. Before this, Israel's always had escalation dominance. If you try to strike Israel, they're going to hammer you back twice as hard. Well, it's going to be a lot tougher now if Iran has nuclear weapons. This may be the last time that Israel can do it, or it may be the first of the new era. Israel has to be debating this right now. Can they make a significant impact on Iran's future military capacity and change the course of events that's emerging in the region? And for the United States and allies, we also have to consider this because it doesn't seem to be possible to change the trajectory of hate of the Iranian regime. And if you can't change the direction of hate, and they're determined to provoke violence through terrorism and nuclear threats and strikes on Israel, what's the best alternative for the rest of the world? Is it to hope the problem goes away, or does action have to be taken?
Oh, okay, I want to talk a little bit more about the U.S., but first I'll just put to you something that the Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz said just not too long ago, that there was an opportunity here for Israel to form a strategic alliance against Iran after the attack. Do you think that, too, that there is some sort of opportunity here to deal with Iran?
Definitely. Yeah. But Iran has always known that these Arab states were against it. It still trades with them. A lot of Iranian business going through Oman and the UAE back and forth. So I'm not sure what the strategic alliance really means other than giving Israel a chance to pass through airspace and maybe utilize some of the assets that the U.S. has positioned in Saudi Arabia.
Forgive me, I said it was Benny Gantz. It was actually the Cabinet Minister Gallant who said that, the Defense Minister Gallant. So just correcting myself there. Now, let's go back to the U.S. now, if we can. General Clark, President Biden has said that U.S. support for Israel is ironclad, but he does not want to support any sort of counterattack on Iran. How difficult is the position the U.S. is here in terms of supporting Israel, but not wanting to be brought into a wider regional war?
Well, I think it's a safe initial position. The question is, what does Israel feel it has to do? Does it feel it has to restore escalation dominance in the region? And if so, can it do it without U.S. support? Probably can. But can it decisively disable Iran's nuclear potential? Probably not. So then if it's a tit for tat and Iran comes back, then what does the United States do? So yes, the Biden administration, just like in Ukraine, doesn't want to, let's say, shake the tree. Yeah. So they don't want to tell the Ukrainians, you're going to win. They don't want to give enough weaponry to really threaten Russia and turn the course of the war. They want to stabilize it, hopefully, and they'd like Russia not to win, Ukraine not to lose. It's the same kind of outlook that's pervasive in the administration's policy in the Middle East. When you say you don't want to escalate for a country like Iran running these terrorist rings, that's like an invitation to strike again. Strike again. The Americans don't want to escalate. And so we have to be very careful about the rhetoric on and what it means in terms of deterrence. Many people will tell you now that deterrence has failed because we failed to deter Iran from striking Israel. Can that deterrence be restored? Or is it simply a matter of now recognizing that somehow the United States, either through regime change by supporting internal movements or by external force, are we going to not be able to live with Iran?
Is it a factor, though, that it wasn't successful, that 99% of these ballistic missiles and drones were intercepted before they even got near Israel? And does that not show that deterrence could work, that when people are working together, there is an advantage?
Well, if deterrence had worked, the Iranians wouldn't have attacked.
Right.
So what this shows is defense works, but can you live safely in Israel knowing that Iran can muster that kind of attack and get away with it without retaliation, without paying any real consequences for it? That's the question.
And General, what do you think Israel's response should be? Because obviously there's a conversation about whether it should be immediate and overt and militarily, or whether it should be something different down the road.
I don't think it has to be immediate, and I don't think it has to be done dramatically in the next 24 hours. I think if there is a chance of, and the diplomacy is obviously going on right now with the Arab states, but I think Israel will respond. I think Israel has to respond. I think the logical thing is to take out the drone factories, the missile sites, and the other things, if that's within the capacity of the Israeli Air Force without U.S. support. I think it is. The question is, do you hold at risk the nuclear assets, or do you go after them in the first wave of strikes? And I think the Israelis have to have the information to help them decide that. I don't have it, but I see the issue.
What does it, I'll just end on this, what does it mean for the other part of what's happening, and that is the war in Gaza, and the chance that that could lead to some sort of ceasefire?
Well, I think it reduces the chance of ending the war in Gaza immediately with a ceasefire. I think instead it removes the covering from Iran's hand behind this. Remember, the strike against the Iranian leaders in Syria was directed at those who had helped organize the October 7th attack from Gaza. So Iran's hand is more and more revealed, and that is the source in the region. If you want to solve the problem in Gaza, you can't solve it by simply stopping the fighting and letting Hamas say they won. You have to defeat Hamas and probably have to go after Iran in some decisive way, enough to change their policy at least, if not to change their regime.
General Wesley Clark, what a pleasure to speak with you this morning, sir. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.